If you want to catch the stream over on YouTube, you can do so at the following link over here. And let me provide that to everybody in chat. Okay. So just so that we're not repeating ourselves, we're going to do a little warm-up activity right now, and the warm-up activity is going to be over at this application over here called the OWASP Juice Shop. And the OWASP Juice Shop is a web application made by the OWASP Foundation, which is a group that is all about web app security. And you can access it at the following address. I'm just going to paste it into the chat for everybody. And so that goes to the login. We don't necessarily want to go to the login, but let's go over to the Juice Shop. So if we go over here, this is the login page over here, and what we want to do is we want to just go to the main page of the Juice Shop app. So we just need to click on this button right here that is labeled OWASP Juice Shop. Just click on that, and then we're at the Juice Shop. All right, so for our warm-up activity, there is a hidden directory on the Juice Shop, and what I want you to do is I want you to try using your web app security skills, and I want you to locate the hidden directory. Okay, so just go ahead and on this page right here, in fact, you probably want to just use this page, and I'm going to paste that in the chat. So go ahead and go to that page, and then take a look at the application and see if you can find the hidden directory. So the hidden directory only has 3 letters, and I want you to try using your web app security skills to try and find the directory. So if you're having trouble finding the directory, I'm going to do a walkthrough for it in just a few moments, maybe a minute or two. But first of all, I want you to take a look at the website and see if you can find the hidden directory yourself. So I'll just wait for a couple minutes, and you guys go ahead and take a look at the website. Okay, so the first thing that you might want to consider when looking at this web page right here is you might want to try looking at the page source, and you can do that, of course, with the Control-U keyboard shortcut if you're using Google Chrome. But there are a couple of scripts over here that you can take a look at. This website doesn't necessarily have flags that you're supposed to find, but you can use your security skills on this website nonetheless. So there are a couple of script files that we could look at in here. I don't think they're necessarily going to give us a lot of information as far as the hidden directory is concerned, but what you can do is you can look for a robots.txt file on this app. And the robots.txt file is, so strangely enough, there's this hash symbol over here at the top of the address bar, but in order to see the robots.txt file, you're going to have to delete that. So it's going to be juiceshop.herokuapp.com and then and then robots.txt, just like this. So if you take a look at the robots.txt file, it says that there is a directory over here that is disallowed, which means that the crawler, the Google, the search engine robots aren't able to take a look at this directory, which is the FTP directory. So FTP is actually an older type of protocol that was used for file sharing. And so user AD says that they just joined. What are they looking at? We're looking at this website right here, and we were just doing a warm-up activity where we're trying to do some testing against it. So inside of the Juice Shop, we're looking at the robots.txt file, and we see here that the FTP directory is not supposed to be spidered by the search engine robots. So we can go ahead and take a look at this directory. So just instead of robots.txt, we're going to go to FTP and then / to indicate that it's a directory. We navigate to here, and then we see that there's a lot of different stuff in here. So an FTP directory is basically a directory where files are being shared. And there's a bunch of, I guess, what are supposed to be like business documents in here. There's a bunch of PDFs and stuff. And there's also this other directory in here called quarantine. So if we take a look in here, then we see that there's some malware in here. So that's pretty interesting. So what we might be using this website to test against in the future, just to test some of the techniques that we learn. But for now, okay, that was the warm-up exercise, and let's go over and see what we were learning from the last time. So today, what we're going to be looking at is SQL injection, sometimes called SQL injection, and we're going to be using our new TryHackMe website. So if you don't have an account over at the TryHackMe website, please let us know in the chat. And we'll try to point you at the sign-up page, because we're going to be using this to learn about SQL injection. So what are we talking about? What did we learn in the previous workshop? This is the 6th Intro to Web App Exploitation workshop. This is supposed to say web app hacking anyways. In the previous workshop, we learned about the following web exploitation concepts. We learned about SQL, which is also called Structured Query Language. So it's a programming language used for managing data held in relational databases. So the reason we learn about SQL and SQL injection is because, okay, so user AD says that they do not have an account over at TryHackMe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a link for the TryHackMe signups page. I think it's TryHackMe sign up. Okay, so if you have an email account, you should be able to make an account over at tryhackme.com. I am providing you with the link right now. So go ahead and register for an account over on the website while we do our introduction for SQL injection. Okay. So the reason why we learn SQL language and about SQL injection is because these kind of SQL databases are a very common component of web applications. So almost every website that you interact with is going to have an SQL database, and that means that potentially all of these websites could be hacked by using something like SQL injection. So simply put, SQL allows users to access and manage data contained in relational databases, which are common components in most web applications. So in the previous workshop, we used SQL queries to retrieve relevant data on the SQL Murder Mystery game and the SQL Zoo. So if you remember those websites from last time, and you're interested in learning more about the SQL language, you can go. I would recommend that you go back and you explore those websites some more. They've got some great lessons on learning the SQL language. So we're going to be moving on to the Try Hack Me website. We'll also be visiting picoctf some more a little later today, but our main method of learning today is going to be on the Try Hack Me website. So we're going to be learning SQL injection exploits through the TryHackMe platform. TryHackMe is a popular cybersecurity education platform with educational modules called rooms that span a great number of cybersecurity disciplines. So the thing about picoctf is that it's mostly aimed at beginners. Of course, there's some more advanced stuff there as well, but TryHackMe aims at beginners, intermediate students, advanced students, and the topics are also much more broad as far as what they cover. So in this workshop, we'll be making use of one of TryHackMe's interactive rooms to learn more about SQL exploitation. So if we want to use the platform, we have to have a valid user account for the website. If needed, we need to sign up for an account at the following URL. Once again, if you do not have an account over at tryhackme.com, please let me know and I'll direct you towards the sign up link right here. But if you don't know, it's just tryhackme.com/signup. So let's, okay, so user NC says that they joined late. Let's grab that sign up link for that user. So go ahead and use this link right here. Use this link right here and sign up for the website. You're going to need an email address in order to sign up. Okay, so let's go over to the page, and we're looking for SQL injection. Let me find the room real fast. It should be this one right here. Okay, so everybody, after you've logged into your TryHackMe website, go ahead and go to this link right here. And if you're on this page right here, and it says SQL injection, please let us know by typing in the chat, I'm in the room, smiley face. So what you want to do is after you've logged into your TryHackMe room, into the TryHackMe website, just click on the link that I provided, and then it'll bring you to that room, and you should be logged in. So I'll wait about a minute for everybody to catch up. So I'm gonna reset my progress on this room, and I'm going to show everybody what you do when you arrive at the room. Hold on. I'm user D says that they don't like the spiders. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're having troubles with the spiders, but we talk that I guess we're talking about web app stuff, so there are spiders. So to anybody who wants to take a look at all of the links that we're going to be using for today's session, the link is over here on the GitHub page, and you can find all the links right over there. I just need to grab this link. And then on TryHackMe. Okay. So when you arrive at the room, you should see this green button over here that is called Join Room. what I want you to do is just click on the green button right here, and then that's going to activate all the content for the room. Okay, so let's go over. So they've got a lot of information over here. And the information is pretty good. I'm going to skim over it while we complete these tasks. For each task, there's going to be a little question over here, and hopefully we can answer the questions without having to do too much searching around. So let's take a look. So first of all, they talk about SQL, structured query language injection, which is also called SQLI. It's an attack on web application database servers that cause malicious queries to be executed. So basically what you do inside of SQL injection is that you hijack the database, and you give it additional commands beyond those that what it's supposed to do. But so basically, in this room, you'll learn what databases are, what SQL is with some basic SQL commands, how to detect SQL vulnerabilities, how to exploit SQLI vulnerabilities, and as a developer, how you can protect yourself against SQL injection. So we're not going to be completing the room today, but we will be completing a section of the room today, because SQL injection is actually kind of a big topic. So quickly now, let's answer this question. What does SQL stand for? So SQL stands for something, 3 words, and this is the name of the language. So in this first question over here, we're going to answer that the word SQL stands for structured query language. So just click on submit, and user AD says that they're having trouble signing in. You're having trouble signing in to the Try Hack Me website? Is that what we're to understand? So after you register for the site, you should be able to log into the website, and then after you've logged into the website, you would go to this link right here. What's the message? Does it just say that your username and password is incorrect? And did you register an account on the website already? So okay, so task 1 is finished. We answered the question. The answer was structured query language. Let's move on to task number 2. User AD, did you manage to successfully log into the website? Please let us know. Okay, great. So just go over to the SQL injection LM link that I provided above, and then we can get on with the session. Okay. So what's a database? So databases. So we talked a lot about what databases are, and what tables are, what columns are. You know, the different parts of the SQL structure in the last session. So basically, inside of the database, the largest object is the database. Well, sorry, the largest object is the database server. So this has all of the database information. And there can be a number of different databases. Maybe there's one database for this shop, and there's one database that's called staff, and there's another database called accounts. And inside of each one of these databases, there's going to be a bunch of tables that have different types of information. So for example, the shop database could have a table called users, a table called products, and a table called orders, and these all hold different types of information. So inside of the tables, there are columns and rows, and the columns have have names that tell us what kind of information goes into them. So for example, I think this is the users table, and there's an ID column, a username column, and a password column. So this is actually the type of thing that we might be interested in as people who do hacking or people who do cybersecurity, because this type of table is what the database software uses to try to see if people can log into the website. So you're going to have a username and a password. You supply these two things to the website when you log in, and we actually use SQL when we log into the website. So remember that that these at the top, they're called columns, and these things over here with the information in them are called rows. So let's answer the next couple of questions. So I'm skipping over some information over here. I want to say that the information on the TryHackMe website is very good, and if you want to learn more about this topic, I do recommend going back and reading all the information that is here. But since we're trying to get things done in a timely manner, we're going to skip over this. So let's answer the questions for task number 2. What is the acronym for the software that controls a database? So the software that controls a database, for example, there's MySQL and there's PostgreSQL. They're just different flavors of SQL. And these are called database management software, also known as DBMS. So DBMS, database management software, that's the answer. And if somebody could answer for me, what is the name of the grid-like structure that holds the data? So if you know the answer, go ahead and type it in chat. I think we should know what this is, and we also know that it's that this is 5 letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's right. User CT says that it is a table. So that's the answer. Great. Okay. So we're moving on over here to what is SQL. So basically, in this section, we're talking a lot about some basic concepts inside of the SQL language. We talked a little bit about this in the last session. So the most basic thing we do to get information from the database is we use the select statement. And this is going to let us get information from tables. So the most basic thing we do is select these columns from a certain table. So select star all the columns from the users table, and then we would get a result like this. So the an important thing that we should know here is that star means all of the columns. So it doesn't matter how many columns are inside the table, star just selects all of them. And so if we want to just select certain columns, we can name those columns specifically. So select username, password. These are the names of the columns from the users table. That means we only get these 2 columns in our results. And we also have this keyword right here, which is limit, which limits the number of columns that are returned by the query. So limit 1 means only return 1 column. So basically, it'll return them in order. And we can also do more specific queries with the where function, with the where filter over here. So select all columns from users where the username, the name of the column over here, and the row has admin in it. So this is what we get if we give this kind of query. But let's skip over a little bit. And this is a concept that we're going to be using in today's user AD says that they're not able to put in the answer. Okay, so I think the reason you're not able to put in the answer is because you haven't joined the room yet. So when you first load up the room, there's going to be a green button at the top of the web page that says join room. So the first thing you need to do is click on that green button that says join room, and then after you click on that green button, then you're going to be able to answer questions inside the tasks. Okay. Okay, so where were we? Hold on. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is union statements. And union statements inside of SQL are statements that let you combine the data from more than one table. So basically, what we need to understand about union statements is that they let us grab information from more than one table at once, and this is actually a method that we're going to be using to get extra information from the database when we do our SQL injection. User AD says I have joined for free. Oh, okay. I think you're not logged into the website. That's why you see the join for free button. So what you need to do is you need to log into the website. And let me just get the login page for TryHackMe. So why don't you go over to this page and log in, and then go back to the SQL injection room, okay? Okay, so there's an example here where you've got a customers table over here, and then you've got a suppliers table over here, and this is an example of doing the union select, where you're able to get columns from multiple tables. So, for example, here it says select name, address, city, postcode from customers, this table, and you're going to union select, which is to add it to company, address, city, postcode from the suppliers table. So you're able to get information from two tables at once. User AD says it is not working. So is it not working because you're not able to log in? Did you register an account over at tryhackme.com? And so does your username, I think you should put in your email and not your username, and then with the password. So just put in, I think you're supposed to put in your email with your password, not your username. Okay, so they talk a lot about some different SQL commands over here, but we don't need to know too much about these extra commands. But let's answer the questions, okay? So the first question is, which SQL statement is used to retrieve data? Okay, I see. Oh, you've already answered the questions. User L. Yeah. So the SQL statement used to retrieve data is the select statement. So sometimes you'll see these keywords inside of SQL that are all capitalized. So as far as I know, SQL is not case sensitive. So you could do lowercase select, or you could use uppercase select, and it still registers. But just keep in mind that some people like to capitalize it because that's an easy way to read it. So user AD says it keeps saying that the email is already taken. I think you're on the registration page and not the login page. So just make sure that the page that you're on is the login page. So it says /login and not /signup. Just double check that for me, okay? So the next one is, what SQL clause can be used to retrieve data from multiple tables? So we were just talking about that. If you want to get data from multiple tables, you have to use the union select, and that is the answer for number 2. And the last question is, what SQL statement is used to add data? And to add data, we didn't go over this, but the answer is the insert statement. So provide that is the answer for question number 3. Okay. So next, let's take a look at task 4. What is SQL injection? So SQL injection. So this is the meat of what we're talking about today. And the point wherein a web application using SQL can turn into SQL injection is where user-provided data gets included into an SQL query. So for example, we've got a website that has an address bar like this, website.thm, blog, and then the parameter ID equals 1. So this is a parameter that tells us which file we're supposed to load up when we visit the website over here. And what we can do is we can try exploiting this for SQL injection, and that would mean that that the address bar over here is the injection point for this is where we would do our SQL injection. So they explain that that the code might be doing a database query like this. Select all columns from the blog table where the ID is equal to 1 and private is equal to 0 and the limit is 1. So basically this is what retrieves the data for whatever web page that we're looking at. But let's pretend that article 2 is locked as private, so it's not viewable on the website. So the rest of this example over here is an example of how we would inject some code into the URL address, and we would try to take a look at blog articles that aren't ready for publication. And the way we would do that is we would supply this right here. So it's basically so say that that blog number 2. User ID says, I got in, but which do I pick? Pre-security or introduction to cybersecurity. So you don't need to select any of those. All you need to do is go to the following. All you need to do is go to the following link over here. So just don't pay attention to that stuff, and just go to the link, and you should be okay. So this is so the reason that if we can see this article, it's because we commented out the rest of the query with these double dashes over here. So the double dashes are going to comment out the rest of this SQL statement, which is checking if the blog article is private or not. So that's how we would be able to do SQL injection in this case. Let's see. Okay, so I guess you have to choose one of them. If you have to choose one of them, go ahead and choose pre-security then. And then after you choose pre-security, go over to the link that I sent you. Okay. Okay. So, what character signifies the end of a SQL query? So this is we'll talk a little bit more about how we're going to do our SQL injection in just a bit. We just have to answer this question over here. So the character that signifies the end of a SQL query for task number 4 at the bottom is the semicolon. So this is actually very common in most programming languages. You have to end all your statements with the semicolon here. So just submit the semicolon as the answer. And then let's go over to task number 5. Okay, so in task number 5, we're going to learn about in-band SQL injection. And in-band SQL injection just means that the results of your SQL query are returned to the web page. And this is the easiest type of SQL injection to exploit, because you see the results of your database query inside of the web app. So just what we're going to do is we're going to interact with the vulnerable web app, and we can do that by clicking on this button over here, which is labeled Start Machine. So in task number 5, just click on Start Machine, and it's going to take a little while to load up, but we can't really help that, so we're just going to have to wait about 2 minutes for this website to load up. Okay. So when your website finishes loading up, please let us know in the chat by typing "it's loaded," smiley face. In the meantime, if you have any questions about any of the concepts that we covered so far, or about anything about SQL in general, go ahead and let us know in the chat. If you're having problems, please let us know as well, because I like to help everybody to catch up, and I don't want to leave anybody behind. Okay. So user AD says that they're unable to click Start Machine. What I want you to do is I want you to go up to the top of the page, and you should see a green Join Room button. And if you see the green Join Room button, then you should click on it, because before you click on the Join Room button, before you click on the green join room button, then you're not going to be able to answer the questions or activate the machine. Okay? User NC says that they got it. Okay. So everybody, if your website over here is initializing, you see the loading bar, please let us know in the chat. Maybe type out "it's loading." So once again, the button where we're going to start our virtual machine is task number 5. So under task number 5, there at the top, there's going to be a green Start Machine button. Go ahead and click on that one to start the machine. So to the people whose website loaded up, what I want you to do is I want you to put the website in its own browser tab, and you do that by going down to this button at the bottom of the screen, and it's called View in Full Screen. So just click on the button over here. It looks like 2 arrows pointing away from each other, and it says View in Full Screen. Just click on that, and then this website is going to be put in its own browser tab. So go ahead and do that, and then you can actually make everything on the website bigger by doing Control-Shift+ or you can just go over here and select Zoom just in case this is too small for you. Okay. So after you've done that, go over back to the Try Hack Me page, and you can click on this button over here, which is labeled Exit Split View, and that's going to close out the VM, the web page, and then what you should have your web page that has this SQI, the error-based SQI, on one tab, and you should have your Try Hack Me page on another tab. Okay. So if you've done all that, please let us know in the chat by just typing out "I'm all ready to SQL inject" or something. Just let us know that that your stuff is all ready. Okay. So user NC says how. Oh no, user CT says, how do you open it in a new tab? So if your web page is split in 2, there should be a button at the bottom. Let me demonstrate this one more time. Okay, so the top, I'm going to show split view. So this is what you see right now. What you need to do is you need to go to the bottom, and at the bottom of the screen, there's going to be a button that's called View in Full Screen, and it's got 2 arrows that point away from each other, and it's in the middle at the bottom. Just click on that, and then this is going to put the this error-based SQL web page in its own browser tab. Okay, so after you do that, you can go back to the Try Hack Me page and click on this button at the bottom called Exit Split View. Okay, so let's get started. So this is task 5. We're doing in-band SQL injection. And they actually have a walkthrough for this one over here. So if we go over to the vulnerable page right here, we see that there's the SQL query that is being run, and we see the injection point. The injection point is actually the address bar. So select star from article where ID equals 1. So this is the query that retrieves the page over here. So all we need to do is we need to go to the end of the address and give it a single quote. And if we add the single quote and press enter, then it's going to give us an error message over here. So if you see this error message and it talks about SQL stuff, that means that you have SQL injection. That SQL injection is possible on this website. Okay. So user CT asks, "Are we supposed to open the attack box?" Not for this exercise. We don't need the attack box for this exercise. Okay. So we know that this page over here is vulnerable to SQL injection because we got an error message. So what we need to do is we need to return data to the browser without displaying the error message. First, we're going to try the union operator so we can receive an extra result if we choose it. So try sending the mock browser the ID parameter to 1 union select 1. Okay, so over here, we're going to do 1 union select 1. So when we send this over here, we get another error message. So the used select statements have a different number of columns. So what the error message is telling us about is about when we do the union select in SQL, we have to make sure that we're getting the same number of columns. Otherwise, the union select is going to fail. So what we need to do is we need to find out how many columns are in this query. So the query is select star. So it's so we don't know what number star is. It could be 1 column, it could be 5 columns. Star just means all the columns. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how many columns are part of this query. So what we would do is we would do 1. 1 means 1 is just a way of keeping track of how many columns it is. You could just it doesn't need to be the number 1. It could be the number 3 or it could be the number 9, but we're just counting. So we just use the number 1, and we can give this a comma and a 2 to try to test if there are 2 columns. So let's test that, and it gives us the same error message. So we know that it's not 1 column, it's not 2 columns. So let's try and see if there are 3 columns. So we see the article come up again when we use 3 columns. So that means that there are 3 columns, and when we do our union select, we have to include 3 columns. Okay, so let's go back. So it says success, the error message is gone and the article is being displayed, but we want to display our data instead of the article. The article is displayed because it takes the first result somewhere in the website's code and shows that. To get around that, we need the first query to produce no results. This can simply be done by changing the article from 1 to 0. So we just have to give this over here. So we're giving the article number 0. And let's do that real quick. So whatever we send to the system to try to get SQL injection, in terms of cybersecurity, we call that the payload. So this is the SQL injection payload right here. So this right here. And we see that we see what we sent to the SQL. We sent 1, 2, 3. So we know that this is where the one column would appear, or the first column. This is where the second column would appear over here, and this is where the third column would appear over here. So we know that we have SQL injection. So we can start using these return values to retrieve more useful information. First, we're going to get the database name that we have access to. So basically, we send, in the select statement, we're going to send 1 and 2 as the first two columns. But for the third column, we're going to run this database function. And the database function is going to tell us the name of the database that we're using right now. So let's go back and do that. So instead of the number 3, we're going to replace that with database, and then these parentheses right here. So when we run this, we're going to find out that the name of the database is SQLi_1. And the reason we need to find out the name of the database is because we're going to be using the name of the database to find out more information about the database. For example, what the tables are in the database. So let's go back. So it says here that our next query will gather a list of tables that are in this database. So in this particular case, we're using this special function, which is going to grab all the information and put it in one column. So this, normally we don't do this, but this is a special web app, so we need to do this this fun extra step. So what I recommend is that you grab this code specifically and you copy it. And this is what we're going to be providing to the web app next. But first, let's take a look at what we're doing in here. We're basically selecting the table name from this special table inside of MySQL, which is called information schema.tables. And we're getting it where the database name is SQLi_1. And this is going to return the names of all the tables in the database. So let's do that. Remember, just copy this entire line, then go back to the vulnerable website. And after ID equals, we're going to highlight everything. And then we're going to paste in the payload. And then hit enter. And we see here that there are two tables. So there's an article table and a staff users table inside of this database. So this is the first step we're taking towards getting extra information from the database. So we know the name of the database and we know the name of the tables. The next thing we want to do is we want to get the names of the columns inside the tables. So let's take a look at the web page here. So what we didn't talk about is the goal for this level. So for the goal of this level, which is level 1, is that we need to get the user Martin's password. So does anybody know what table we would look in to get the user Martin's password? So we've got these two tables right here. We would probably be looking at the staff users table. So what we do is we're going to get more information about the staff users table by doing some extra SQL injection. So this one is going to get the column names from the staff users table, okay? So just copy this right here. But before that, let's talk about what we're doing with this query, okay? So we're getting the column names from the information schema.columns table, where the table name is equal to staff users. So we can just go over to here, and remember, the injection point is just after the equal sign. So it's ID equals, and then highlight everything, and then paste in the payload, and then hit enter. So inside of this table, we've got ID, password, and username. So we know the names of the columns inside the staff users table, so we can get the information from these columns right here. They've actually got a fancy way of accessing it. And this is it right here. So it says the query results provide 3 columns for staff users: ID, password, and username. We can use the username and password columns for our following query to retrieve the user's information. So they've got another fancy way of getting this information by doing the username, and then they're going to separate it by this colon over here, and then they're going to separate each one of the rows by a return. So basically a line break, and they're going to get this information from the staff users table. So let's just highlight this, copy it, then go over to the vulnerable web page. And remember, the injection point is just after the equal sign. Highlight everything, and then paste in the payload, hit enter. And we see the passwords for the users. So there's a username admin, Martin, and Jim. And what we need to do is we need to supply the Martin user's password. So we can just copy this and then paste it in, and then click on check password. And then we're finished. Okay, so when we get to level 2 of SQL injection, we receive this flag right here. So this is what the flag looks like inside of TryHackMe. It's THM. Remember that when we did picoctf, the flags for picoctf started with picoctf, but for TryHackMe, they all start with THM. So just highlight the flag over here, and then on the TryHackMe page, what is the flag after completing level 1? We just need to supply this and click on submit. And it says the answer is correct. Okay. So everybody, before we go today, I want to introduce one more very useful thing that we can do with SQL injection. And oh, I didn't see. Somebody from YouTube was chatting. The Reality Weaver. Hello, and welcome to the stream. Okay. So the last thing we're going to learn before we finish out today's session is we're going to talk about the authentication bypass. So this is a very infamous SQL injection technique where we're able to log into websites without knowing the username or the password because there's a SQL injection vulnerability on the website. So let's go over this really quick. So this is a type of blind SQL injection. And blind SQL injection, this term just means that we don't get the result of the database. We don't get the database result after we put it in, but the SQL queries are still being processed. We just don't see the results of them, and that's why it's called blind. But we're talking about the authentication bypass right now, and I did a little. Let's take a look at a little presentation talking about this. So we're talking about authorization bypass. It's a type of blind SQL injection where insecurely written code allows the login of a user to a web app without the use of the proper username or password. So basically, this is just letting us into the website without having a proper account. So the most basic authorization bypass SQL command is illustrated by the SQL command shown above. Note that there's a space present in the command after the double dashes. So basically what we do when we do the authorization bypass is we close out the original query with this single quote over here, and then we supply a true statement to the web application, which is this one right here, or 1 equals 1. So 1 equals 1 is inside of programming is always true because 1 equals 1 is a true statement inside of programming. The last part of the authentication bypass is this section right here, the double dashes, which let us comment out the rest of the SQL query. So basically, we're ignoring everything that happens before we log in. And if there's anything else in the code that could potentially get in the way, we're basically omitting that with this comment out. So the single quote closes out the original query. If this portion is not included, the SQL database will return an error. So the next part, which is or, is what enables the bypass because it enables us to create our own true statement. Even if there's no matching username, because the or conditional is used, the overall query can return true if we supply the correct statement, which in this case is 1 equals 1. Then the double dashes and the space, which comments out the rest of the original query. So let's do a couple of examples of bypassing the login screen. So over on the TryAcme website, we've got our login screen for level 2, blind SQLi. So basically, we see the SQL query over here, and we can bypass the login with the magic bypass payload, which is single quote or 1 equals 1 space dash dash space. And then the password, we can just put in whatever we want for the password. So click on login, and then it says that we logged in. You bypass the login and can move on to the next level, level 3. So just click on level 3, and it's going to give you a new flag over here. Copy this flag, and then go over to the TryAcme page and submit the flag over here. Click submit. Okay. All right, so we're going to be continuing on with SQL injection in the next class. But before we do that, I'm going to give you a challenge. So the challenge is use the SQL injection bypass, so the SQL authentication bypass, to log into this website right here. And the website we're talking about is the Juice Shop. So let me get the URL for this. So everybody, if you could go over to this page, and what I want you to do is I want you to try logging in by using the authentication bypass. If you forgot what the authentication bypass is, go ahead and let me know in the chat, and I will help you out. So if you're able to log in, you should be able to see which user you are by clicking on, there should be a button up here that tells you about what user you are after you log in, okay? Okay, and if you're able to log in successfully using the bypass technique, let us know in the chat by typing out bypass complete. Smiley face. Okay, so let me start explaining what is going on here. So we're on this login page, and the login page is the login page is susceptible to the SQL injection login bypass technique. So remember that we have to, so in this username field over here, we just need to supply the bypass payload, which is single quote or 1 equals 1 space double dash space. And for the password, we can just type in anything. So we click on login, and then we know that we're logged in because if we go up to the cart over here, then it says your basket, and we're logged in as the admin user at the juice shop. So does anybody know why we're logged in as the admin user? So why? So if you have a theory as to why we're logged in as the admin user as opposed to any other user, why do you think it is? If you don't know, that's fine. I'll explain it in just a little bit. So user D says, what do we put for email? So the email is where you do the bypass. So we don't need to. Let me demonstrate one more time. Oops. Let me log. I think you can just do logout. Actually, I'm going to make this smaller. Small, small, small. Okay. So there should be an account button over here. So if you make the page small enough, you can click on the account button and you can log out. Okay, and then you can log in. So one more time, let me demonstrate this. So for the email, it's going to be the bypass payload, which is single quote or 1 equals 1 space double dash space. For the password, it doesn't matter what you type as the password. And then you click on login, and now we've logged in using the SQL login bypass technique. Okay, so everybody, let's do a short review before we finish out today's session. Okay. So SQL injection. SQL injection vulnerabilities can lead to sensitive data exposure, admin account takeover, web server takeover, and more. Error-based SQL injection is a type of in-band SQL injection where error messages from the database software are returned to the web app interface. So first thing we need to do is get the name of the database. After that, we have to figure out what the names of the tables are in the database. And after that, we have to figure out what the column names in the tables are before we can get that information by using the SQL injection. So, and we also learned about the authorization bypass. It's a type of blind SQL injection where insecurely written code allows the login of a user to a web app without the use of a proper username and/or password. So in the next web app hacking workshop, we're going to conclude our exploration of SQL injection with the TryHackMe website. We're probably not going to be covering Boolean and time-based SQL injection, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be practicing SQL injection with the techniques that we use today. I know that SQL injection it might have been a bit confusing for everybody. Because the topic is actually pretty complex, but if you have any questions about anything that we did today, or if you're having troubles with any of the exercises we did today, go ahead and let us know in chat, and we'll try to help you out individually. But otherwise, the next session is going to be on Wednesday at the same time as today, and we're going to be practicing doing SQL injection. And it's going to be we're going to get used to doing the SQL injection, including the authorization bypass. And I hope to see everybody there. But until then, I hope everybody has a great day, and we will see you next time. Once again, if you